What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Real Hero Show. Nick here with you, and in today's episode, I will be covering episode 5 of Doom Patrol entitled Dada Patrol, which actually aired last week. Got some catching up to do myself because of some busy personal events in my life this past week and weekend, and just kind of catching up on other shows. Live stream we did earlier this week, which was awesome. Really appreciate all the support for the channel as we hit our goal of 500 subscribers and on our way to 1,000. So if you're new here, please go ahead and to help support the channel. Hit that like button on the video. It really helps us out. As well as subscribe, the bell for future notifications of all video content, of movies, DVDs, TV shows, and hopefully other news soon. So again, for this episode, I will be covering full spoilers, and I'm going to try to make it pretty quick, just so there's not a lot to go over per se, but also with the episode 6 coming out today on HBO Max, I want to be able to get to that as soon as possible. So, overall, this episode was very weird and obscure, but it also fits the mold for kind of your typical Doom Patrol episode, which is, part of the reason why I enjoy the show. It's different, especially when maybe compared to something like Titans, where it isn't so cut and dry. I'm really enjoying the season so far. When we're about 5 episodes in, not quite halfway there, but it's been fun and an interesting storyline that kind of continues from one episode to the next, of course. And one of the things I wrote down here in some notes is that this episode leaves room for more questions, and it doesn't quite answer everything, which is kind of what you want from a consistent show on an episode by episode basis. And one of the things about this season so far is all about individual and group identities, and it seems like a lot of characters in the show have had this identity crisis. As I kind of wrote in my notes here, that it basically leads to individual answers, or at the very least proposes the identity crisis that incites desire. So, like all the characters in this show desire to know more about themselves, whether it's Rita and thinking that she's a time traveler, but sees Laura also take the shape as her, and she's very intrigued as to why that is, and kind of jumping towards the end of the episode here, but when we see Rita and Laura kind of connect to an extent when they're drinking and dancing, and Laura gets drunk and passes out, and Rita takes the keys and goes for a little time travel drive. So it'll be interesting to see where she lands in episode 6. But this talk about the sisterhood and Dada being a French term, and I guess at least we got a pastry shop, right? Or a candy shop. The eternal flagellation, if I'm pronouncing that right, not flatulation, as they joked about it in the episode. It's an interesting concept, I guess, because everyone is basically tripping in the forest in this fog. They see parts of not necessarily themselves, but other individuals that, again, kind of question what they're doing and where they're going. The thing about Cliff is, Cliff's just straight up tripping because of the abundant amount of pills that he took while he was eating his red goop. Obviously, he causes the bus to crash, and he's got a weird moment when he's talking to a Japanese girl in a glass case, and he starts talking Japanese. And then we've got Larry, who's got a little growth, something that's moving within him, which seems like it could be Negative Man coming back. I guess we'll find out soon with that too. But then Larry finds his father, Paul, right? And then he wants to reconnect rather than fix things, which is always good to do with family. But let's also jump right over to Vic, Cyborg, earlier on, and he gets his red eye back. He gets the Star Labs information back because his father says, screw it, I'm going to take a risk. It's just our little secret. I'm sorry for what I did. I wanted to be a better father. So, there's some closure that's coming between Vic and his father, which is, again, good to see. And closure usually helps people. So we'll see where their relationship will proceed through this season. But then he sees a gentleman, I kind of forget his name, in the episode, but the guy with the two bike wheels, or the bike on his back, and it causes a lot of wind to stir up when he starts kind of walking towards Vic. But he's kind of questioning, Vic, like, who are you, sort of thing, right? And again, it's that identity crisis moment that Vic's just sort of unsure about. Even though Vic claims to know who he is or what he wants or what he's seeking, I still think he doesn't quite fully understand what he's capable of or what he actually really wants in this life. And of course, we've got Jane, who meets the Fog, aka Shelley Byron, in the candy pastry shop. It's just her and Kay. So obviously that makes Jane a little concerned. But then, they've got the other personalities that start, banging on the glass. I think it was Hammerhead that was, that broke the glass. And simultaneously, when that broke, the candy truck driver from Cliffside, breaks through or punches him. Punches or kicks him through the glass where the Japanese woman was in. And then, you've got, the thing with Larry and then Vic stirring up on their ends. And it kind of all comes crashing down at that point, right? And they all just appear back in the bus. So it's almost like, were they imagining it? Did it actually happen? Or if it did they all just sort of concurrently end up back on the bus because they all reached the end point to their realistic dream, I guess. So, what are your thoughts? Does anyone out there have any sort of further explanation as to why that might be, or kind of just a hypothetical guess as to why they experienced it in the first place, and why they just magically appeared all back at the bus at the same time? But the interesting thing was obviously that Paul was also back on the bus with them, and they take him back home. And another question I had was if there's anything else that the sisterhood was planning, for Jane's sake. But Jane wants in, and Shelley just sort of laughs. So kind of just wondering if there's even anything significant there behind that. But the biggest part that they all say for each of the characters' individual sort of points in this episode is they all say, "Send our regards," or thank Laura DeMille. Laura DeMille, Laura DeMille, Laura DeMille. Because she's the one that sent them, right? She talked about the ant farm earlier in the episode. Says, "I want you to take the Dada people out." She used a different term, right? Kill them, but means the same thing. So, it's sort of interesting because whereas Laura doesn't really quite know what she's doing, she just still wants them to be taken out. And even Laura's having a bit of an identity crisis, and that might be because obviously of the time travel, sort of, wiping her memory out. But at the same time, it's sort of an intriguing storyline that we'll get throughout this season. So, again, I think this episode was pretty good overall. I like the obscurity to it, the weirdness, and as long as Doom Patrol keeps up with that, I think we're going to have a great season, and each episode should be good, as long as it's not too weird. But is there such a thing with too weird that doesn't make Doom Patrol a good episode or a good show? So, what are your comments? Did you guys like the episode? If I had to rate it, I'd maybe give it like a 7.5. If I want to get a little granular, maybe like a 7.3, something like that. But around there, like obviously wasn't a bad episode, but I think a 7.5 is probably deserving because of the ongoing overall arc of the season, and obviously the individual characters. And I think the other thing I like about this is that each character kind of gets their spotlights, in this episode and in past episodes of this season. So it also allows the actors to kind of talk more about what they're learning about their characters while acting and kind of getting to see things. I know the little snippet at the end with the actors that portray Rita and Laura. Can't think of Rita's actress's name, but she said that that take when they were getting drunk on the couch at the end of the episode, so that was like the second day or second scene that they shot together. And I know Laura Mills, I can't think of her name for the life of me, but she's a pretty good actress, and of course she ended up kind of ad-libbing the part where she passes out, because I guess in the script she wasn't supposed to pass out, but she did, and then she kind of just woke up again and started talking like she's drunk, and she passed out. And then Rita takes her keys and goes in the time machine, and just seeing that was great. And it's always cool to hear things like that from actors, like the behind the scenes stuff, because it kind of gives you a little bit more insight. And I always forget that Vic has a British accent, which is so cool. Shout out to all the Brits out there with accents. But yeah, so what do you guys think of the episode? Did you like it, hate it, in between, kind of mixed? Do you think it's a 7.5, not? What are your thoughts on the season overall? Leave some comments below, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.